The league has handed down fines and a suspension for Sunday night's heavyweight bout in Orlando between Greg Kite and Frank Brakowski. They'd been doing some banging earlier in the game, and then Kite hit him high, and Brakowski went after him. Kite never really saw the right that caught him, but before any serious punches landed, the fight was broken up. You'll get another look from the Slam Cam, the aptly named Slam Cam. Brakowski suspended for 1 game and fined $7,500. Kite was not suspended, but was docked $5,000. Another story out of the Great Western Forum last night, that of Terry Teagle, who mixed it up with Dave Jamerson, and he's paying for it now. Look at this.
But nothing really happened here. Watch Jamerson's left hand as he comes up here. He's going to brush right there against the cheek of Teagle. Teagle thought that was an assault of some kind, and he just loses his composure, goes after him, and as a result, he's getting a big fine and going to be out for a game.
$7,500 is the total and a 1-game suspension, so he sits out game 2 tomorrow.
Who could that be? It's Charles Barkley with today's word.
Today's word is fined.
Tell the boys and girls how you get fined, Charles.
You can get fined for a lot of things, like yelling, arguing, and bad-mouthing an official, but most of all, for fighting.
Have you ever been fined, Charles?
Never.
No. Charles is a great player, but he has a lousy memory.
Here, these teams go eye to eye.
Certainly been no lack of news coming out of Washington, D.C. this weekend, so it goes in the NBA. The Washington Bullets releasing Bernard King, the 36-year-old 4-time All-Star, making his second comeback from major knee surgery. Things got ugly last week. King and Bullets head coach Wes Unseld jaw to jaw. King later demanding the Bullets either activate him or release him. The team suspended him, then released him yesterday.
It would have been unfair to him to ask him to put himself in a situation where he was going to sit back and watch me play young people just because of their age and maybe have limited minutes. And I expressed that to him, that I didn't want to put him in that kind of a position.
So right now, Bernard King, a man without a team, but you got to think there's a contender out there who can use a guy who can put it in the hole like BK can. Little rough stuff at Market Square Arena Tuesday night has resulted in fines for the Pacers' Rick Smits and Washington's Purvis Ellison. The two big guys mixed it up during Indiana's 20-point win. Ellison was fined $3,500 for throwing a punch. Smits $1,000 for pushing Ellison, and 9 other players were docked $500 apiece for leaving the bench. Now, if an Ellison-Smits matchup has a familiar ring to it, well, it should. Yeah, back on December 19th, 1990, they were the main event, also at Market Square, and for that, Ellison and Smits were each fined $7,500 and suspended a game. Now, TV rights are still being negotiated for Smits-Ellison 3, should come up sometime in the 94-95 season. And it should be a pay-per-view bonanza. 2-3, the fill-ins had their hands full in Boston, where the Celtics beat the Heat in double overtime. Second quarter of that game, some hand-to-hand combat underneath Kurt Thomas and Purvis Ellison. Now watch Purvis with a little shove and the left hand from Kurt Thomas. Ellison took stitches inside his mouth for that one, and of course, fines and suspensions followed. Thomas, $10,000 in a game. Ellison was not suspended, was fined $2,500, as were his teammates Alton Lister and Eric Williams for leaving the bench, each suspended for 1 game. Also in that game, do you see what happened to Billy Owens? He ran into the pick set by Todd Day, and there were some anxious moments for the Heat because they thought he had dislocated the shoulder. Turns out it is a bad bruise.
And Purvis is bleeding profusely. And I think they're going to eject Purvis, and that is a shame. And Purvis wants to get him right now after what he did to him. And they're going to throw Purvis out of the ball game.
Somebody's got to get a hold of Purvis here is what's going to happen.
And let's see what happened if we can. Left. There it is.
Oh, he hit him with the left hook.
Yeah, and he hit him with an elbow to begin with. Let's see it again. There was the shot on a rebound, and then he pushes him away and hits him again. And Purvis was bleeding from the first shot, not the second.
The last victory was very frustrating for the Celtics. We're going to show you now and let you listen as the president of the club, Red Auerbach, charged the officials' locker room at the conclusion of the game. He was upset at the work of Earl Strom and Hugh Evans. You will hear Red's voice in the background.
You're showing the class of Washington. You put a rock in the ball. You put a rock in the ball. We have
Now, what concerned Red the most is the fact that the Lakers shot 14 free throws in the fourth quarter and the Celtics only one. As Tommy Heinsohn pointed out moments ago, however, the Celtics' inability to get the ball inside might have affected them at the free throw line. If you can't get the ball inside, you're not going to go to the line. It is possible that Auerbach will be fined for his actions. One other thing, Red always leaves a message. The alternate and the third official in that locker room was Jake O'Donnell during that outburst. Jake O'Donnell is working tonight's game in the Garden. We'll see how it unfolds.
The story that surfaced in the last few days involves the league's best-known player, Michael Jordan. Jordan has responded to charges of gambling, specifically large amounts of money reportedly wagered during friendly games of golf and poker. Checks were written by Jordan totaling $108,000, allegedly to pay off gambling debts. Of equal concern to the NBA is Jordan's association with people known to law enforcement officials as big-time gamblers, including Eddie Dow, who was murdered in North Carolina last month.
It's to associate myself with whoever I choose to, basically, as seemed for you, because I'm certainly not questioning who you hang around with. And I think what they actually are questioning is my choice of people, and either way, it's still my choice.
Jordan this week initially denied any knowledge of these checks, one for $11,000 payable to bearer, and two checks to Dean Chapman, one for $20,000 from Jordan's personal account, the other for $77,000 drawn on an account by Jordan's management company, ProServe. Chapman and murder victim Eddie Dow, the man in this picture, were said to be golfing buddies of Jordan's. Michael's love for the game has been well documented. He's downplaying the allegations of betting on personal golf games, but he's not denying them either.
I've heard in the past of betting on teams and games and whatever, but in terms of actually myself with my friends, so what?
Jordan has not been accused of any crime, and NBA rules specifically forbid only betting on league games. Still, the league is concerned enough to say they are looking into his possible association with known gamblers.
I can't fault anyone else for my mishaps or my mistakes. I have to just accept it and move on, as everybody does. I mean, no one goes through life without a mistake or two.
Falling behind early. Then, in the terrible third quarter, Isaiah Thomas missed it right here. The Bulls go down for the fast break. Scottie Pippen to Michael Jordan. He slams it through. Then in the final seconds, a small scuffle there. Nothing major between Laimbeer and Horace Grant.
And slammed it in, and underneath, a four, it looked like a four. Oh, Laimbeer just shoved Horace Grant.
Bill Laimbeer trying to exert some muscle. 4 technical fouls in that first half alone.
Phil Jackson knows what to expect out of this rivalry.
It's the same people. You can't change the leopard. It still has spots. And the Knicks, although they're not spotted, are a team that's very physical. And they're still going to be a physical team. They're a strong team.
I don't think so. I think they've been beating up on Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant more than they've been beating up on Michael. They're going to protect Michael because he's their meal ticket. But they've been beating up on Scott and Horace pretty good. So Michael's been carrying the team the last couple games. He's going to have to keep doing it because the Knicks aren't backing down.
From Chicago Stadium, what do you think these guys are saying, Ewing and Jordan?
They just trying to do what they decide what they're going to do during the Olympics.
Exactly. I knew that was the answer. X-Man, man, he was red hot in the first half. 18, drains the baseline J. So the Bulls 1 win away from the conference finals. Now, earlier tonight, Charles Barkley said here that he kind of liked Portland Trailblazers if it came down to Portland and Chicago. And you knew that word of that would get back to somebody. Bob Neal mentioned it to Michael Jordan. Here's the result.
At halftime in our studio tonight our guest was Charles Barkley. You can imagine that. Charles said he picks Portland to win the championship this year.
I know Charles is trying to drive me crazy. He's trying to make me competitive, and I appreciate that, Charles. What a great friend.
Any response to Michael?
I love Michael like a brother. I love Karl Malone like a brother. And those guys, Michael's got one. My goal would be to see Karl get one, but I think Portland has learned from their past mistakes.
NBA principal's office was back at work today, suspending Horace Grant for a game and fining him $5,000 for punching Danny Ferry in last night's Orlando-Cleveland game. Grant will miss tomorrow's game against Indiana.
Horace Grant, Danny Ferry exchange pleasantries.
Now, as I say, they've been going at it, and it's been Danny Ferry a few times, but both Horace Grant and Shaquille O'Neal.
You mentioned it earlier. They got together in the first quarter. And Horace Grant and Danny Ferry still giving each other the eye. Brian Hill's out there to make sure
I think
it doesn't get any worse.
Horace might be gone. I don't know. I don't think it was a punch. Danny Ferry and Horace Grant. Yeah, so maybe there will be suspension.
Another look.
Here it is right here.
There's
they
the
get
tangle.
tangled up right there. And there's Horace. So yeah, that might constitute a suspension. You might be exactly right, Chip.
And what hurts is you got the Indiana Pacers coming up next with those big bruising forwards. There's the tangle. Horace the push off there, and then they get together again, and this will be a perfect angle. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might be a game. But that started early in the ball game.
When Buck Williams caught an elbow from James Donaldson, as we mentioned earlier, he has gone to the hospital for an examination, and that is for a cut above and below his eye. He also suffered some blurred vision. All-star guard Kevin Johnson of Phoenix has been fined $7,500 for this flagrant foul against Steve Kerr of the Bulls. The incident occurred Sunday with 0.3 of a second left in the game. Kerr apparently was going for a three-point shot to tie the game when he was grabbed by Johnson. To the surprise of Charles Barkley, the Suns held on to win by 1.
All right, thanks, Marv. Now, in the old days, all you needed to play basketball was a pair of shorts and a pair of sneakers, but that's not the case. Most of the players will be wearing these mouthpieces. Now, a couple of injuries to report. Hersey Hawkins has a scratched cornea, so he'll be wearing these protective goggles. And Charles Barkley has a broken nose, so he'll be wearing this contraption. What it does, it takes all the pressure off the bridge of the nose, but the drawbacks are you have no peripheral vision and you can't see the floor. Plus, Charles says it makes him dizzy. The best thing about it, Barkley says he'll only have to wear it for a couple of more games. Marv?
Ahmad, I know Charles will appreciate your drooling all over his mouth.
What are they saying the day after Alonzo and LJ were punching air at the Garden? In case you've been in a cave and haven't seen this video yet from last night, LJ and Zoe swinging. Kind of looked like a Springer show, except more punches land on Jerry's show than this. But there were suspensions that result for Game 5 in this series. Alonzo Mourning suspended 2 games, fined $20,000 for throwing the first punch. LJ, 2 games and a $10,000 fine. And Chris Mills came off the bench. He sits out 1 game and is fined $2,500.
You have to try to learn from past experiences, and you know, it's very hard to walk away when someone's swinging at you, as we talked to Larry about. But it would have been the right thing to do.
5-on-2 for the Lakers, and Worthy is decked, and Worthy doesn't like it. And Gray Kite was tagged. Both coaches have come on to try to cool things down.
Kite just come at him and really take him down. That was a hard foul. Now Worthy was going to get it. He should have not come up and started swinging. And Kite comes back at him. What's going to happen now is in the lap of the guards as far as Worthy and Kite are concerned.
How would you compare that to the Lane Beer Bird incident in Detroit?
Different situation, I think. Each play is different.
Going in, Dennis Johnson commits the foul, and Kite, both of them with a hard takedown, which has been part of a lot of what we've seen in the playoffs. So no one was thrown out of the game, and the officials seem to handle it very well. And here is Ewing. Yes. So the technical foul has been assessed. The New York number 14. So this follows the double technical on Oakley and Gilliam, and now Mason called for the tee.
Mason quite outspoken now in response. Mason under the boards, pushing Perry right out of the play, and then followed it up with some words to the official, drew the technical foul, something that happens a little too often for Anthony Mason.
And Jeff Hornacek, an excellent free throw shooter, misses on the technical. Things getting very physical here.
It bothered me because, you know, if you have any problems with me, like when I had problems with them, I went and told them. If you have problems with me, why do I have to hear it from somebody else? And then when I asked them about the trade rumors, no, it's nothing going on. We're not doing nothing, you know. If something major comes up, I'm sure you'll hear about it, but we're not doing anything. And then next thing, you're in one city and somebody else is in another. I thought that's very disrespectful.
What about the rumors about you not getting along with your teammates, having differences with Patrick and not really wanting to be a part of that? Was that any of those true?
To me, it's not. If I had any differences with anybody, I spoke to him about it, but me and Pat never had any conflict. That was the funny part. Everybody thinks me and Patrick and myself had conflict. The only thing I can see is if I'm rising as a talent, if he didn't like it, if it took attention away from him, then maybe he said something behind the scenes, because me and Patrick didn't have conflict. What I would like to do, since the media always says this, is interview each and every one of them, and I want to hear who says I have a problem with Mace or I didn't have a problem with Mace. You know what I'm saying? Because if I got a problem with you, I'll say it on national TV to your face, to your parents, and anybody else.
Now that you're in Charlotte, was that a good move for Anthony Mason?
For me to get out of New York, I felt was the best thing, because my aggressive nature made me a target. I'm not that close to people. I don't try to be over friendly, because I think some people get too comfortable with you.
He has really taken over this game from the Hornets' point of view.
When you talk about your attributes, you're truthful, right?
Very.
Honest, right?
People don't like that.
Don't back down from anyone?
No, I'm not doing that.
Those are very fine things you want in a character, right? But those are the same things that people say, because you're like this, you're uncoachable.
They can speak down to you, and you're supposed to sit there like a kid, and they always preaching that we're all men here. So,
Peter, is this a difficult guy to play with and to coach?
Well, you heard what Dave Cowan said last week. He's a grumpy old man. He is difficult, and he prides himself on not backing up or backing off anybody or anything, but he often forgets that he's one of 12 players and that his responsibility is to the team. And when he starts complaining about minutes, shots, leadership, whatever, it becomes contagious, and other guys say, hey, if he can do it, why can't I?
The guys are really trying to put a lot of pressure on themselves to come out and produce and do certain things, but it's not that type of situation. Actually, it should be a little easier now that I'm gone, because there's no pressure, there's no expectations, and you should just be able to go out and play free and easy and have a good time and beat the crap out of people.
Well, that was not exactly the case Sunday, as the Pistons were thumped by 28 by the Knicks.
Meanwhile, the Pistons went back to the drawing board looking to come up with some new amendments to the Jordan rules.
The Jordan rules? Is that something you guys made up?
Jordan rule? No, I don't know what that is.
It was like the Da Vinci Code, the formula to Coca-Cola, and the Jordan rules.
You're not going to give your game plan away on television, man.
Anybody but him. He was not going to beat us. That was the Jordan rules.
They were our rules, and that's the rules the Detroit Pistons went by, how we're going to play Michael Jordan. And, you know, we kind of played it up a little bit, but that's just the way it was back then.
The NBA Finals ran the gamut of emotions. For 7 heated battles, the Detroit Pistons and the Los Angeles Lakers sparred toe-to-toe. And it was a heroic Isaiah Thomas who led Detroit to the brink of an NBA championship.
And there's pressure on him. Now, all of a sudden, he's got to be a key man off the bench after seeing sporadic action all year. Under 2 minutes to go, and it looks like a takedown in college wrestling, doesn't it, as Magic Johnson covers up his friend Isaiah.
A little accident at that time. Watch this now. Watch out. We'll get a little bit of a double team here off the pick and roll. You'll see the switch by Magic, and then the movement to try to pick it up.
Is that 2 points or 1 point on the reversals?
I don't know. What do you get for a takedown?
Here's Magic's reaction. He picked up his first personal foul and said, "Who, me?"
The fans in Seattle last night not only saw a dandy game as the Sonics beat the Suns by 1, they were treated to a sideshow by Charles and the Chicken. Charles Barkley was at the foul line, and he seems distracted here, doesn't he? Seems the Chicken has got a babe on a poster here underneath the basket, and Barkley's having trouble keeping his eye on the hoop. So the Chicken's ordered to put it away. The Chicken goes to Plan B, the slightly larger woman on a poster here. Charles still amused, but regains his focus. And with that staring him in the face, he drills the freebie. Hit them both, as a matter of fact. Charles Barkley's going to be center stage Tuesday night here on TNT.
When it comes down to winning and losing, I think there's only one way to do it, and that's being a serious, tough-minded competitor.